The following is a fan-based discussion. All properties discussed are property of Toei Inc., Bandai, Hasbro, and Subaru Productions.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Tokutalk.
Yes.
This time we are talking about the evolution and de-evolution, I guess, of Sentai mech fight scenes.
Yeah.
There's been a lot to go that.
A lot of mechs, a lot of fights, a lot of ups and downs.
A lot of repetitive boring.
A lot of them are the same, which doesn't do itself any favors.
Like, they've had some moments here and there. They're like, oh, this is a new, kind of refreshing take, and then it's gone.
Like, even with Battle Fever, and we like the Battle Fever mech.
Oh, no, the Battle Fever mech is great.
Yeah, but it's like actually watching that come to fruition, especially as the first mech in the actual show when we watched it. It was very refreshing to actually watch it, especially because it was just the one mech, but it had like 7,001 different weapons.
But they were just actual weapons. It wasn't like, a ram's head hammer, or it was just a sword, a knife with chain. It's just a thing.
Kuna
with chains. There you go.
But it was like always fun to just watch it actually.
There's no escape.
No, there's not. You can never escape joy.
And then for a while it was because Battle Fever was the first mech. That wasn't a ship.
Right.
So great start.
Thanks, Spider-Man.
What the fuck happened? Then because everything was, we had some cardboard boxes. We put them over an actor. We painted them with a logo on the front and gave him a sword.
And that's most of these.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
we have our miniature set. We've got our actors in their big old suits. Mm-hmm. We strap a bunch of sparkbacks to them, and then they're gonna awkwardly trunch around.
And then sometimes there will be two mechs. Then we started doing that for a little bit. Then we started combining them, and then we just got more. See, I miss the days when there felt like a little bit of innovation. We'll get to the obvious one a little bit later, but I do want to talk about Cobra Ranger. Because
I was gonna talk about Zojo first, not Zojo, Zoo Ranger first.
You can talk about Zoo Ranger
because it was the first one that was.
Like, let's have two combining mechs.
Well, not just like two combining mechs. It was the first one that was like we have 5 mechs that look like the animals or the dinosaurs. What?
Liveman.
That.
True, but Livemans weren't sentient.
They weren't. It's not about the sentience.
Well, even then.
Sentience. The ones in Zoo Ranger had a range of motion themselves that wasn't this.
Well, the ones in Liveman.
Also, the dolphin one was real.
It was a set of 2 dolphins.
Was real lazy.
That
we
was
both
a
know.
Tank or something.
So, like, that was like the blueprint, but Zoo Ranger was the first one. It's like that is a T-Rex. That is a pterodactyl. I don't give a shit if it's just a fucking breastplate. It's a pterodactyl. That is all the pterodactyl was the breastplate. You can't disprove me on this. Now, and that had that whole, like, it had the tank form, it had the robot form, the whole combining sequence and everything. Mm-hmm. But here's the thing. At the end of the day, it was still a blocky robot fighting a rubber-suited monster.
Or Godzilla.
And it was just with some extra flair this time. Every innovation to mech fighting is kind of theatrical. Functionality.
We're going to give you a new finisher that we can, whether it's like the soccer ball from Gal Ranger, something big, something flashy, something
sword on fire from Die Ranger.
Yeah, something we can put a lot of our budget into, something that'll look cool that we can use to
sell you a
cap
toy.
off the episode
And sell you a toy.
Well, I feel like the early 90s,
that goes without saying.
They did go a little bit more. This is why I wanted to bring up Cobra Ranger, because this is the first time that we had multiple mechs. We had a lot of mechs at the beginning of the show before they got like the more traditional nowadays Zoo Ranger ones in the second half. But they had their own and those skinny versions that like to run around and do flips and shit.
Oh god, what was the Hurricaneger mech that
that had the hurry up form?
Yeah, I forgot what it was called.
Yeah, which was basically harkening back to Cobra Ranger when there's smaller copy mechs that they had,
which was also ninja based. So there you go.
Yeah,
but stuff like that would be cool. Like Ascend or anytime
we haven't had that. Like they did 3 years. They did it in Kaku O Car, and then haven't done it since.
And there's the occasional moment where a ranger is supersized to like mech size, like in Zoo Ranger or.
Oh right, when green.
Yeah. Which that could be cool. a little Ultraman, but that could be cool.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
I
mean, Jay did it.
I'm wondering what the legality is there. But anyway. If the MCU couldn't use the word mutant, I'm not surprised by shit anymore.
To be fair, Kamen Rider and Ultraman did have that crossover in 91, 92, so...
Fair.
I think the one thing that Sentai could borrow from Ultraman is their camera work.
That also.
That's the main...
Especially after watching... Because I think one of the worst things about mech fights in Sentai, and one of the reasons I keep tuning out, is because they just look so boring.
Yeah.
We're gonna plant the camera here. We might get a couple of close-ups, a couple of different distance perspectives.
And action shots and shit like that.
It's not so much different action shots, because it's the same action shots, but like, I'll start to swing my sword, we'll cut to a closer angle, I finish swinging my sword.
Yeah.
And you compare that to Ultraman, where the camera work, especially after watching Zet,
where it's so dynamic.
where the camera work is so dynamic and the miniature work is so good, and you really get a good sense of space. It feels like we are actually fighting in a city when we, stamp on the ground and we see cars move and break and such.
It's weird because they've done that before. Deca Ranger did that. Deca Ranger loved to roll through the city and stuff and hide behind buildings.
That started because then we get to Gao Ranger with CGI.
But no, the Deca Ranger one did a blend.
It did a blend. I'm not saying it didn't, but it wasn't.
I'm talking less about effects and more about what actually happens in the scene itself.
But the reason for why Ultraman puts so much detail into that is that these giant fights is 100% of their action scenes, really. Mm-mm. When he transforms into Ultraman and fights, he doesn't get to be small Ultraman.
He does.
He does occasionally.
It happens every now and then, and also
90%.
Also, like on the ground fights are not uncommon in Ultraman either.
But the gimmick. The gimmick of Ultraman is that he becomes big and fights a giant monster. So they're playing to the gimmick.
I get what you're saying. I still think it's something they should learn.
I'm not saying that they should.
I think it's something they should pull more of their resources into.
If
it's going to happen every episode.
See, that's the thing. I don't think it should. I don't think mech fights should happen every episode.
I agree with you 1,000%.
The thing is, they did do that 2 years ago. Ryu Soldier, remember those first couple episodes with the mech fight? Like, they had the mech running
on mountains and shit.
Jumping over railways and stuff. It was fun to watch for the first time in ever. And then they stopped doing that because they just kept adding shit onto the first mech.
Because the mech kept getting bulkier and bulkier.
Like, they didn't really do it so much with Three Knights, but it's like when they added green and black onto it. Black's too bulky, green's a little bit too bulky as well, and then they were just like, hey, Five Knights. And then the thing became so goddamn top heavy.
It was back to basics.
Back to basics. It just after those.
Do you remember the first time we saw the Gokaiger mech fighting on the goddamn moon? Yes, it was CGI. I don't give a shit. Yeah. It was awesome.
It was fun.
It took out an entire goddamn battalion. Where the fuck is
It's still a different location. It's a different use of the mech. It's not, I'm going to plant the camera here and we're going to awkwardly punch each other for 2 minutes.
No matter how much we end up making fun of Dino Force Brave, at least they end up trying to do some new things with just like all CGI mech fights.
You say so. I've mostly blocked that show out of my memory.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you at all. The show was garbage.
Yeah, it was.
And we're also getting to the point where we can barely tell them apart.
Like, I can still tell them apart because, there are some defining characteristics, but then you end up having some really bad ones. I'm looking at you, Lupat.
Yeah, Lupat was not good. Tiny heads.
Those ones weren't great. Experimentation had some fun ones at the beginning where they, had the mech be used in a pinball machine of a city, and, they actually just got to use it in some different ways to make it actually a lot more fun.
Cobra Ranger also had some moments because the mechs were ships themselves. And they had, they tried to, incorporate them fighting in space.
Whatever.
Mm-hmm. Well, not just that, but them flying on their own and, they would fight on their own in space and be mech or be ships for a minute. But I think Cobra Ranger might be a great example of how mech should be, at least with the terms of limberness.
Especially the smaller ones.
Yeah.
We're going to flip and turn and spin and jump and hi-ya!
But I definitely think that...
Those words exactly.
Mechs should not be used every episode.
No, it takes away from it. It's like, I'm just saying, just like, they'll just end up being Kamen Rider. It might end up giving a little bit more of a change just because I understand that you're trying to sell a toy. But I feel like you can do that if you didn't have the full combined mech every episode. Or just bring back where they each have their own individual ones that can fight on their own.
Yeah.
It'd make things a little bit more interesting.
Magi Ranger was an interesting concept.
It didn't do it enough.
It didn't do it enough. I didn't say it did. But, it's just, it's getting stale, and I don't think Toei gives a shit.
Like with this next year, we know some things with Zenkaiger will end up being happening. I'm guessing like they'll just combine two and they'll still have people fighting on the ground. They actually had, I believe it was actually Ultraman Z's action director come on in one episode of Cura Major because you could tell the action was very different. We had like...
It was good.
Pretty much, but at least with the mech fights, because we had like the mech in the background, but we still had red and yellow fighting everybody on the ground in front of it. Go Busters did that a couple of times too at the very beginning, but it was just so much more interesting to see that happen with Kira because it was just, oh okay, I can see how this is Ultraman because Ultraman does their action scenes incredibly well. I feel like if you're gonna really upgrade the mech fights, especially going forward, bring in an Ultraman director. They know what they're doing.
Oh yes,
and
at least for the mech scenes, boys do it.
Yeah, it'll
even for the on ground stuff too, because there's some great on foot stuff in Ultraman as well. So. Yeah,
especially we end up doing like and Sentai's been doing this for a little bit at least, like the follow action, follow like a punch to go to the next person or what have you, and which is weird because they used to do that a lot more in older Sentai. Just like for example. Bioman, they fought a couple of times like in an like an electric part of like a dam or on the dam proper. So they were like, do a whole bunch of fights and like zoom out and you see another fight happening way off in the field. But then again, once again, health and safety, who cares? Once we get to Flashman, I'm going to bring this up again because they have like this whole fight I think this is still one of the best fights I've ever seen, just like in Sentai in general, just in Flashman, because you're here. And there's fights happening here, but there's a building up a floor. And people are fighting back there. You see people jumping off of buildings, getting thrown out windows and shit. And I'm just like, this is fun. I miss, like, not just mech action direction, but just like action direction in general. Don't be afraid to get a little experimental with it.
Why not?
That's the main thing. Experiment. I feel like just visually, that'll just end up being so much more interesting to watch.
That's one of the things that I feel like mech fights suffer from the most is the lack of experimentation. It's like how many. It seems to be more of a case of how many different parts can we bolt onto the mech, and less of how can we make this fight interesting.
Because and the weird thing is when you think about it lately, they've been experimenting more with the in suit fight scenes. They implement, and I know they can't do shit like this with mech fights, but using drone shots and first-person angles and shit like that. I just wish we could see that experimentation with the mech fights.
Yeah. It's needed.
Like, I know we can't do a drone shot. That's going to be real fucking difficult.
I mean, we probably could.
You need to build a miniature set big enough.
Has to be big enough.
So the drone doesn't see the
edge.
I mean, you do the right kind of lens. You can do like a quick flyover like they do with stadium cams, that kind of thing.
I would love
or shoot it low enough.
Maybe.
Like if you
but
do
then you have to worry about studio set lights and shit like that.
You can build around it.
Yeah, you can build around that. Like have the drone fly low enough because I think they did this in Ultraman Z actually, where they had Belial stand in one spot and then like all the ultras just fight around him. That happened in Z. And the drone was low enough so it kept moving around.
That'd be another. Oh, that's another idea. Give us the perspective of like
a rig instead of just doing the drone. Make it like a rig to do it.
That's what I was thinking.
I was just thinking. Let's get the perspective of somebody on the ground. Let's like do a 360. Like maybe this is like a late season fight where there's like 3 mechs. So they're like making a triangle around this one person. They do like a 360 shot of them staring up at these Goliaths.
Ultraman.
I know
they had somebody.
I'm sure it did.
Oh, it was great. I think you remember this. I think it happened in Tiger where somebody was in a car and they were driving on the highway while the ultras were fighting, and it was so fast paced. It was great.
We need those different angles.
Yeah. God, I just want some innovation. That's all I want. Maybe because we saw like the preview for Zenkaiger when
But
you, like,
it
fought
just
in
seems
Epic City.
it just seems like Toei is in the mindset of
resting on the laurels,
I was gonna say if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
but it is a little broken. They should fix it.
Well,
As,
they're
they,
per-
as
still-
they see,
No, they don't think that's a problem. They don't think it's broken because it's still making money.
no, it ain't. Experimentation made less money than Ryu Soldier. To be fair,
They
COVID.
rested on the laurels so much they fused
But to
with
say
them.
they're gonna write that off as COVID, not because
Yeah, I think the past year was COVID related, especially because
It
Kira
hurt a lot of people.
Kira got hit early. So we'll see exactly what happens here. I haven't caught up with Saber, so I can't say anything about that. Who knows? Maybe they had some more interesting camera angles in that. But I feel like just bring it forth a little bit going forward. We saw the fight happening in that first clip for Zenkaiger where they were like fighting in that mushroom city.
Mm.
That looked interesting, so I'm excited to see where they go. Because I'm excited for Zenkaiger.
that's another thing. Different locations.
As opposed to the same city.
Yeah. Same city, same mountain range.
Yeah, same forest. Yeah,
Same rock quarry.
Yeah. Of course, I mean, once again, all of this stuff is like done on sets.
Yep.
But even still.
make a different one.
But yeah. I don't think we have anything else to add. Let us know what
You can do better.
let us know what you want to see
You
for.
can always try.
What changes do you want to see in Sentai mech fights?
Yeah.
What do you think needs innovation? What are your ideas?
What do you think some easy things that could be done? Bring in an Ultraman director. You'll be saving yourself a lot of time and or money. Maybe not money.
I
But
was
you
gonna
know.
say probably not money. But let us know what you think in the comments down below. What other topics should we do for Tokutalk? As always, follow us on all the things. We'll see you guys next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
All right. Thank you for watching.
Thank you.